You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money. Welcome back, my sassy friend, for another episode of Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, and I am your host, the Sassy Wealth Queen, and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, and of course, this podcast. And today, I have with me Carina Gardner, and she's a PhD in design from the University of Minnesota. She taught design at the University of Minnesota and the Arts Institute before starting her own design business. The Carina Gardner brand has been on dishware, jewelry, prints, clocks, sewing patterns, and holiday products. That is so cool. Carina also is a well-known fabric designer for Riley Blake Designs and die-cut designer for Silhouette. Carina was the creative director of Cartabella Scrapbook Papers. Her kids' brand, Minnie Lou, has sold products for Nordstrom, Peak Clothing, and 500 independent retailers and museums in the U.S. She is the CEO of Design Suite, a surface pattern and crafting design program that teaches designers how to make money as they learn to design. Her popular Make and Design podcast teaches aspiring designers how to make the transition from crafter and hobbyist to profitable designer. She is originally from Clarksville, Tennessee. She currently lives in Sandy, Utah with her husband and 3 children. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here on my show. And as always, my sassy friends, you know what we're going to do. We're going to dive straight into talking about money because that's what this is about. And again, it's all candid conversations involving around anything and everything money. And we were talking right before we went live and hit the record that one of the things that she put on here that she wanted to talk about, and I was like, yes, that's it. So we're going to dive into it, is understanding that it is possible to make money even if you didn't come from it. And I preach that like there's no tomorrow. I know I sound like a broken record, but the fact that someone else said it made me extremely happy. So I want to dive into that. Why? And I'm going to just go ahead and say, why would you actually put that out there? Because to me, that means you know that you know firsthand.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. If you are someone who doesn't come from money, and we're talking about no money at all, and then you become wealthy and start making an awful lot of money, it feels like a very big jump. And there have been several jumps in life, but let me tell you about this. So I have a book. My book that came out last year was called Design, Profit, and Prosper. And I started by talking about money because when I was first born, I was born in the Ozarks. My parents literally had an outhouse that's like they bathed in the river. Like we're talking about literally having no money. Now, I didn't grow up that way. Like that was the first 8 months of my life, so I don't really remember it. But I grew up in Clarksville, Tennessee, and we by no means had money. In fact, I didn't get my first piece of new clothing until I was 12 years old. And it was a very big deal. I got it from Walmart, and it was like a shirt. And it was a really big deal. And I remember in high school, all my friends had enough money, maybe not super rich, but they had enough money for clothing and for other things. And I just told myself that this was not the way I was going to live my life, like that there would always be money when I started making money. And I went to college, got an undergrad degree in communications, and decided to go do a master's and a PhD, kind of almost by accident, while my husband was also working on some degrees. I was probably the first in my entire family. My dad was the second youngest of 9 kids and the first to get a college degree. I was probably the first to get a graduate degree in my family. My mom is Chinese, so like first generation immigrant, and they definitely emphasized college, which was, very helpful as well. I remember in my first, I finished my doctorate and I started my business. And I remember in the first 3 years of my business when I made $100,000, it felt like that was so much money. Like, cause I had never ever seen, and my parents certainly never made anywhere close to that. Like that felt like so much money. Fast forward, it's 16 years later. In the last 3 years, we became a multi-million-dollar company by starting another program. And, just now that I've lived it and I know, I would love it if every woman figured out a way to be financially free in their lives, because it changes everything. Things that you stress about in your marriage, things you stress about for your kids, things you stress about like paying the bills or whatever, those things go away if you have money. And I know that money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure makes life a little bit easier. And, in our program for designers, we teach women how to make money as they learn how to design, because I think it's such an important component of actually creating a career.
Yeah. Money is not everything. I mean, it's the reason why I created the 5 wealth codes. And we were talking about that too. Because, the 5, what we were talking about was how all those codes encompass being truly wealthy. And I agree with you. When you have money, you're able to have the freedom to buy the things that you want or need. And you have the freedom to be able to pay the bills without worrying about it. And I mean, I'll be the first to tell you that, going from food stamps and going from barely making ends meet and not knowing which bill I was going to be able to pay to even when my business, has the dips, as all business do, even during the dips, I was still able to pay all my expenses. And I just can't tell you how much that, how much that means. Like, I could get emotional over it and I still show gratitude because I know what it's like to not know how you're going to pay, which bill are you going to pay? And if you're going to be able to pay the bill and put food on the table. I know what it's like to have to go to family and borrow money because I did it. And so I think it's important that to understand that you don't have to come from it in order to create it. Just like you said, you have to give yourself time and resources. And I'm also going to add another thing. You've got to have some grit and determination, because if you give up when it gets hard, then no, you won't do it. Because let me tell you, the universe is going to test you.
Yeah. It's a rite of passage to show that you're willing to do what it takes in order to get where you need to go. And I will say, especially in the last 3 years, as we created our design program, we're actually, I wish I could tell you, but we have this amazing thing happening in September. We're kind of next leveling everything. But if someone had told me 3 years ago that, first of all, this is the other wonderful thing about money. I know people are like, oh, money, like, you get to pay a team. You get to give other people jobs. There is some really wonderful benefits. You get to serve people in amazing ways that you had no idea you could serve them. And it's super duper powerful to be able to take care of other people in that way. It's more than I ever thought. And then furthermore, when you can make enough money, which I love teaching my designers how to make money, is that you just have more choices in life. You just have way more choices. And it's usually not a bigger house. That's not what most of us really want. It's financial freedom. It's flexibility. It's fulfillment. I get to make choices right now, not based on money. I get to make choices based on how much impact we get to have. And when you get to make choices like that, it's really a powerful thing.
Yeah, it really is. And, and I think it's important to understand that, having that grit, that determination, and having, and making sure that you're giving yourself the time and the resources, right? It's basically kind of like active manifestation, right? So you can go and work on the mindset and do it, but you still got to do the actionable steps. And so that's where the resources comes from. And then being realistic with yourself, right? Understanding it's not going to happen overnight. Me going from the food stamps to 6-figure did not happen overnight. Okay. Me changing my mindset and my relationship with money, which by the way was a horrible relationship. I did not like money. Matter of fact, I despised money. And now I have this awesome relationship with it because, when I realized that I was talking bad about it and treating like crap and not having a very good relationship with it. And I did the mindset work and the abundance mindset and shifted that scarcity mindset. Amazing things started happening. And at the same time, I started working on that management piece and having a money roadmap of, okay, what do I want to do with the money? How do I want to have it allocated? What are my desires? What are my goals? And, I think having knowing that is really important. And that's where the resources come in, right? So like your designers, they have you as a resource to be able to become a designer and start their own business and make money from it. And I think that's huge.
Resources are pretty much everything. It's kind of like what we call networking. I talked to someone earlier today. I've been in meetings all day, but like this person was talking about how like they got a degree in social work and then they went and got a job and they ended up in retail. Well, the problem was, then she got a great job because she had a network. And so she like used that network and moved into corporate. The problem is that when you don't put yourself out there to find those resources, which are network, information, education, any of those things, if you don't put yourself out there for those types of things, then it's impossible you're like going to be stuck, like, because you have to change your world a little bit in order to change yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's it's kind of like the energetic wealth code, because you have to change who you're around and your actions that you're doing in order to change your world and, and then change yourself. So it encompasses with each other. And I think that's really important. And one of the other things that I think is important too, and we were discussing this, was how do we stop, right, the spiral of the scarcity mindset, right? I know that there are going to be a lot of my listeners who are women entrepreneurs, because that's my audience, and that y'all have kids and you're like, okay, I'm working on these things, trying, and maybe this will give you some motivation, because I truly, truly, truly feel very passionate about this. And I'm going to be honest, I'm still a work in progress with my 2 girls. Okay. Because sometimes I find myself saying the things that our parents have said to us, which is a scarcity mindset, saying you don't think of it as that, but it is. And I have to stop and think and then switch it so that I can teach them different things. But so you can tell what I was getting at is we're teaching our kids, regardless of what you tell them, your actions are teaching your kids what kind of relationship to have with money, whether they're going to have a scarcity money mindset, whether they're going to think they can build wealth, right?
Your actions every day, and then also like how you teach them, I think makes a big difference. And then your words to them, your words really, really matter. So I have 3 kids. The oldest is 20. I have a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old. And my 16-year-old says things like crazy things all the time that I would have never said at her age. She'll say things like, I think I want to be a New York Times author by the age of 24. I think a regular parent would want to make sure and rein that in to make sure she has a more realistic view, because they're worried about her feelings getting hurt. The opposite should be happening, which is, yeah, you should go for it, babe, right? Like that should be the words that come out. But the parent who is protecting is probably thinking, oh, let me tell her it's okay if you get it at 40, or it's okay to just get a really great book deal, and kind of like bring those expectations down. And my words to you are this: let your kids dream big, because the bigger they dream and the more you go after it, and let them go after it, the more likely they are to be able to succeed. That parental support is really necessary. And what's the worst that's going to happen? She's not going to be a New York Times bestselling author by 24. Instead, she maybe has a major book deal and has come out with 9 books. Okay, that's still not a horrible thing, right? But the moment you start dragging down your kids' dreams, and they're very usually often related to wealth in some format, one of your formats, possibly in fulfillment or energy or whatever, that's when we really hurt our children in ways that we don't realize we're hurting them.
Oh yeah, and I'll agree, because I have 2 girls, and they just turned 13, and one just turned 13, and one just turned 21. And my youngest is finishing 7th grade, and she decided at the beginning of this year, she knew exactly where she's going to go to, what she was going to go to school for. And I said, what? She said, I'm going to be an artist. And I'm going to be honest, she can draw and paint like there's no tomorrow. And I have no idea where the world she got it from, because she did not get it from me. But she has that talent. She can paint, and she loves painting, and she loves looking at colors and mixing the colors up and doing different things. And so she decided that she wanted to take art next year in 8th grade. And the school came in and didn't put her in there for art for next year. And I was like, why? And they go, oh, well, we want her, she needs to go ahead and take her first year foreign language for high school because she got to have two of them to go to college. Okay, why can't she take that in high school?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like,
Yeah.
well, because I was like, no. Heather said she wants to have art next year and she's really passionate about it. So you know what? Put her in there so that way she'll know for sure that's the direction she wants to take before she gets to high school, so that when they start shoving all the other things in, for the direction of college, she'll know because right now she's adamant about it. Matter of fact, so adamant about it, y'all, I went and Googled all the colleges that offered a bachelor's in fine arts because she wanted to know what schools, and I have them in a spreadsheet so that she can go, because she loves going on the internet and researching them. So she can go on the internet and research all of them and narrow down where she'd like to visit, because again, that's going to be something she's going to do. But who am I to tell her, no, you don't want to do that. You need to have a backup. And in my day, I know for a fact that's what I'd have been told. I need to have a backup. And I'm not going to do that. I tell her, baby, if that's what you want to do, the only thing I have required for her is to please make sure she gets A's and B's so she can get a scholarship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's practical, right? It's really about practical along with that. That's incredible that you're doing that for her. But yeah, our kids, I think, good role models. And then also they have to see that, especially those in the art, like your daughters in the art field. One of the things that they have to see is that even if you're an artist, doesn't mean that you get to just have chaos all the time. Those with art businesses, and we teach people with art and design businesses, they have to have consistent schedules. Mm-hmm. They're still working a job. Mm-hmm. And so even though it's fulfilling and it's the thing that you want to be doing with your life, there are also pieces of it that you have to do that maybe you might not enjoy. I mean, no one loves bookkeeping, right? But it just is part of the job. And so I think kids seeing your parents do hard things, really important, and going after their dreams, really important. And then watching how they spend and use their money for whether it's their team. For us, my kids are seeing me. We have several team members who are in the Philippines, one in Spain, and we get to change their lives. Like, we get to pay them a really good wage. We get to, there's so many things that are really cool there. I also get to serve and spend money in ways to help families in our neighborhood. We just get to do things that we normally would not be able to do.
Well, yeah. And I mean, my kids have gotten to see me travel, and then they got to see me be invited to go to Kenya to speak, to do a speaking international tour, speaking and humanitarian tour in Kenya. And, I accepted it. I applied and I was chosen and invited, and I accepted it. And so I get to go and speak to young girls in Kenya about, their wealth mindset and those 5 codes, and how being wealthy is so much more than money, and showing them that you can create this wealth yourself, right? And how empowering is that? I'm like, I get goosebumps, and it's going to be several different schools, all these people. And, my girls are seeing me going through the process of being able to go and do that. And my girls have also saw me go, my oldest especially saw me go back to school to get my 4-year degree when I was working in corporate. And they encouraged me to go back because long story, another day, but I went back. And so she saw me go back, and then my 2-year-old saw me graduate. Or she was 2 then. So I started college with one kid, went back to school for 4-year degree, can't talk, with one kid, and graduated with 2. So, awesome. and that was working corporate and having a kid, then getting pregnant and having another kid, right? And that's not easy. And so they've seen that, right? And in that process, ends were barely being made. And now I'm teaching them, okay, look, this is how you manage your money. This is how you plan for things. And, you don't spend it as fast as you get it. And it's just, I think it's important, right? To lift them up and say, you know what, if that's what you want to do, you can go do it. As long as I tell them, as long as you work for it, you can go do it. My oldest is autistic and she didn't want to go to college, and I had to make the high school people leave her alone. And then one day last year, I was coming back from out of state from working a job, and I get out of the vehicle, and she runs up to me. She's with her father. She runs up to me and she goes, "I've decided I'm going to college." Huh? What? I was like, okay, we'll start searching. Nope, I've already searched. You have? Okay, where you want to go? Liberty University. Y'all, it's the most expensive private college there is. Just so you understand. Private Christian college. I just say, yeah, private Christian college there is. And I was like, and who was I to tell her no? And I was like, okay. I said, are you sure? She said yes. And I said, all right, well, let's contact them first and let's talk to them and make sure that, they'll work with you and with accommodations, and that you're able, you can take one class, you can do part-time. I said, what's your degree? She said, I want to go be a teacher. And I was like, okay, why? Because you don't like being around a whole bunch of people. She said, no. She said, but I want to help other kids like me when I didn't get help.
Yeah, so good.
So again, who am I to say, no, that's the most expensive college. Don't you want to pick another one? I'm saying this in my head, but I promise you I never said it to her. And she's doing one class at a time, 2 a semester, so one class at a time. And will it take her longer? Yes, maybe. But she's doing it. And by the way, she's making A's and B's because she's doing it online, and she has all week to do her assignments, and she's not being bombarded. Her brain works her way, right? And she's killing it. Again, that's uplifting her. That's showing her what's possible, and it's building her self-confidence up. So I absolutely love, the fact that you put on there that, what we're teaching our kids and what we're saying to our kids matter. Because if we say, no, you can't do that, you need to go pick a cheaper college. You don't think you're saying something about money, but you just said something.
Yeah. And, I think what you said there is so interesting and great. My oldest daughter is actually also autistic.
Oh, really?
And I think that, I was like, oh, we dealt with some of the same things. So I really think, especially if you have neurodivergent children on top of it, they do, their brain patterns are different. And so the moment you shut some of those things down, you're shutting down more than you think you realize. So you really have to go after what they want to do. Now, I will say this, I have spent some time guiding my children in their activities. So for example, my oldest is exceptionally brilliant musically, and she's also a fantastic artist. And so when she came to me and said, these are the things I really like, Mom, I said, listen, I love both of these things. I think you should choose one and get really good at it, because it's the 10,000 hour rule, right? So the better, I think sometimes one of the things that we do as parents, we're just like, you can just keep exploring, which you can for some amount of time. But at some point I said, listen, I think you need to choose one and just go all the way in. I'll buy all the tools you need for it, give you anything you need. But the reason I want you to do that is because the more you get into it, the more expert you will be at it. And I think especially those of you who have children, especially who are on the spectrum, they're already so good at diving in and hyper focusing. So I was like, let's use this to our advantage. She's actually in animation now. She's a brilliant animator. And I just said, I'll buy you all the tools and everything you need. She has better, I'm a designer. She has better equipment than I. She has like a Cintiq and all this other stuff, right? But it's like, I will say as a parent, you get to also help them stay in a lane so that they can actually win. And one of the things I see often is, if you are not an entrepreneur, this group is, you guys are listening, you guys are entrepreneurial, so you're not going to have this problem. But I'll see this with my friends who are not entrepreneurs, and they have kids who are very artistic, and they like about 10 things. And I have to say to them, hey, listen, at some point, usually in their later teens, you do need to say to them, hey, you need to choose one, and I'm going to help you in that one thing, go way, way deep into it so that you can get really good at it, so that when they make their path in the world, it doesn't feel quite so hard. And that's entrepreneurialism in general, right? We got to stay in our lane. We need to, even as you and I were talking, there are certain things you say that are very specific to your brand and how you do it and how you coach it. That's pretty important, because then you get known for something. So you're able to sell that service, right?
Well, and and what you said made me remember. I love listening to YouTube Momentum on YouTube, and it's a bunch of people speaking and encouraging and basically telling you to stop filifarting around and go, right. And one of them talks about, it says that a coach asked a baseball player, "What's your fastest? What are you really good at?" And he said, "Well, I'm really good at my fastball and my curveball." And he said, "Those are my two good ones." He's, "No, which one is your best one?"
Mm-hmm.
That, out of the two, which one do you like to throw more? Which one are you better at? I'd say my curveball. He said, "Okay, then I want you to forget about the fastball, and all I want you to do is focus on the curveball. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the only thing I want you to focus on." This team had never gone and won any of the things. And that's all he focused on. And the following year, they made it. And it's because, like you're saying, focus on that one thing and get better at it. Because if you try to focus on 5 things and get better at it, on all of them, then you're basically just running in circles. And it's the same way with entrepreneurship. It's why they tell you when you start your business to focus on one thing in your business. You can offer other things, but only talk about one, only focus on that. And then you can have offsets to it, later, but focus on that one thing. And that's the reason for it. And, my 13-year-old, she's not on the spectrum, but she is, however, ADHD. And she has some other learning differences. And, when she come and told me she wanted to, she wanted an art desk for Christmas, and she wanted all these art supplies. Y'all, I bought more paint, and I bought really nice paint brushes, and I bought all this stuff because I've seen what she can do. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm talking what you're talking about. You focus on this. If this is really what you want to do, then I want you to focus on this. I want you to focus on it so you get better at it. And you're right. That's what she does. She hyper focuses.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, she's neurodivergent too. And when you have kids who, my kids they can find the weirdest things to hyperfocus. Oh my gosh. But when they hyperfocus on those things, it's amazing what can come out. My oldest is awesome at building stuff on Minecraft, and some adults in her middle school, it tore down that confidence, and I've worked really hard to build that confidence back up. But it's not back to where she thinks she could actually make money building worlds on Minecraft. And I'm like, you can make money, girl. You make my head spin with the mess that you build. She goes, "Yeah, but I looked at this video." And I said, "Kenzie," I said, "didn't you just slam that laptop shut?" And she goes, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" She goes, "Because they weren't doing it right." So baby girl, I said, all you did was go get motivate. You got ideas, motivation, and something. I said, "Do you know how many entrepreneurs, including me, go and Google stuff and go look at other people's websites, not to take anything, but to get inspiration or ideas, and then we go and build our own thing?" I said, nearly everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really unfortunate too, because I think especially middle school, high school, elementary school teachers, because they're in the teaching world, they don't actually know what's possible. So YouTube alone, like everyone thinks, oh, it's just these big YouTube stars making money. We have a very tiny subscriber base, and we make money off YouTube. People don't realize that because they're not realizing that there's a lot of money to be made. You can make $50,000 a year just off YouTube by posting consistent content. People don't realize that because they're unwilling to look at really what people are doing to make money. And there's a lot of people out there making money in a lot of different ways. So yeah, it is really unfortunate.
And that's the reason why these are video too, so that they all go on YouTube, so that I have consistent content, because I did the research, and I wish I'd done it earlier. And I did the research, and I'm like, wait a minute, really? okay, yes, I need to build my following, but I don't have to have millions and millions of followers to have to make money off of YouTube. You have to be able to um, uh, be consistently posting, and it's the same way with having sponsors for your podcast. I went and did the research, and they're not necessarily looking for you to have thousands and thousands and thousands of subscribers. It's how often are you, how consistent are you dropping videos and those podcasts? Are you consistently going and having the things? And, oh, I can do consistent. Okay. So, and that's an afterthought of it. Yes, because the whole purpose of me doing this is for us to have these candid conversations. And I think it's important. My 13-year-old decided for her birthday, she wanted a microphone. She was starting her own YouTube channel because she's 13 and she can have her own YouTube channel. And before anyone goes into the comments, listen, she can have her own YouTube channel where YouTube doesn't allow any comments. Okay. She's 13, so she can have her own YouTube channel, but no comments are allowed. And yes, mama monitors. So please don't come in the comments. Had to put that out there. But the point is, I got her this nice little standing microphone with the little filter thing. And I'm going to say this, and I hope every single one of you hear me. If all of us were to do what her and her best friend did on her birthday when she got that microphone, we'd be so much further along. Them two didn't care what they looked like. They didn't care what the surroundings were. They didn't say they had to plan for 5 days of what they were going to talk about. They hooked up the microphone, got on the YouTube channel, and went live.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you love that energy of the right now? I just heard Ed Milet talking about that. The energy of right now is so high, like that frequency. So when you're excited about something new, if you just go for it, it will be much faster. It'll be better in a lot of ways. And you'll bring that energy with you. It's really cool.
And then she was like, Mommy, she said, I made that private because she wasn't comfortable being on the YouTube because they recorded it, and then went on it. And she said, Will you be a guest so it can actually be public on there? I said, absolutely. And again, I'm encouraged because I've told her, I said, baby girl, I said, no, you can't have comments, but I got news for you. All those influencers that you watch that have all these thousands of followers, they didn't start with 1,000 followers and they didn't start with people commenting. They started exactly where you're starting now, doing the videos, and then gradually going to build up. And she goes, so I'm doing it. My way is a good way. I said, absolutely. So again, I'm encouraging her, right? Because she wants to be able to, on her YouTube channel, to have it to where she'll have an easel and she's painting and she's doing it on the YouTube.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right? That gets your workout. So, it's encouraging your kids for them to think for themselves and also be responsible with money is really, really, really important. And you have to be able to take care of yourself and how you're looking at the money in order to do that. So, if you want to use that as a fuel to have the better relationship with money and be able to see all the things possible and say, you know what, I didn't come from money, but I can stop this here with me and I can have my generation and my kids and future generations will know how to build and retain and expand that wealth. And I think that's really, really important. You have a free offer for my listeners. Will you please tell them about that?
I will. It's so fun. Also, can I just give you one tiny tip for your daughter's business with YouTube that I think would really help her? Just like you have a podcast and then you post it on YouTube, she should have a Twitch channel where she does her easel art, run that live streaming, and then post it to YouTube. So that's just a little tip and hint.
Okay. And you know what? I think she has one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I asked her and I think, you know what? I'll have to look at that. But I like that because you're a design artist and the colleges that I looked up, it's fine arts of design or what is Bachelor in Fine Arts and Design. It was all of them. So you're
Twitch
very familiar.
channels are great for artists. Really, really great for artists.
Okay.
So Twitch channel plus YouTube. Like she can basically take the same content and she's just posting it to YouTube.
Kind of like what we do with TikTok and yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Totally
Instagram,
the same
TikTok,
thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So let me, so sorry. I love it when kids are doing great stuff.
Right?
Because
I wouldn't even imagine doing something. I mean, granted, okay, I'm going to show my age. We didn't have computers when I was in school. Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't have cell phones, matter of fact, when I was in school. None of that stuff existed. I told my kids earlier that if I had, Ed puzzle and quizzes, I would have done so much better in school than I did because all we had was books and paper. So no, I love that because I think I think it's important. And again, you get us raw and real, so that's the only way I am. But go ahead, tell us the free offer.
Okay, so my second book just came out this year. It's called Make Art That Sells. Actually, your daughter might like it.
Okay.
So it's pretty short. It's really fun. It's every chapter is one piece of a formula that brings you to a point where you can understand a little bit about making art that sells. It's also a fun book because every chapter is a little tiny snippet of an artist. So there's a chapter that's related to every formula. So like Vincent van Gogh has a chapter, Picasso has a chapter, Claude Monet has a chapter. Anyway, it's just a little section and it relates to that little piece of the formula. So that book came out and we created a class for that book that I would love to give anyone who's listening. You can have it for free. So if you go to makeartbook.com, the book's at the top, you can get it on Amazon, but you can just skip right over that and click on the next one, which is the masterclass. It normally costs money. All you have to do is put in the code MAKEART and it is free to you. So it's about 6 lessons. I go over the formula. We talk about some fun artists, do a little art history, and there's a worksheet there with the formula. It works for not just artists though. We did it for my daughter who wants to be an author. So in the product category, you can change that instead of being a sticker or an art like an oil painting or whatever you decide, you can put in there book, like if you were going to be an author, right? So then you're figuring out your medium, your style, like all the other different pieces in the formula that you're going to input for yourself to kind of figure out what you need to do in order to create art that actually sells. So create books that sell, create whatever the product is that you want to sell. So it works for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Cool. Yeah. Because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that, they're service-based that want to write a book, and you can put books in there to say you want to be an author, and there you go. So, oh my goodness, y'all need to jump at that one because I love that you can change that and then it just shows you what to do for that specific thing. That is so cool.
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to check it out myself. Thank you very, very much for being on my show. I appreciate it. And my sassy listener, I hope you got some awesome tips out of this on, how to change that mindset and be able to cultivate, the wealth mindset and how we talk to our kids and how we encourage our kids to where we can actually stop the scarcity mindset. We can change that generation to generation thing, and we can pass along the wealth mindset and abundance mindset instead. So thank you again for being on my show. And remember, my sassy friends, until next time, stay sassy. Bye. Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.